Vivekachudamani, this work by Shankaracharya, together with the Drik Drishya Viveka, was translated into Tamil prose by Bhagavan while he was still living in Virupaksha cave. It is a very free translation, even the order of the paragraphs being changed to some extent. Introduction by Sri Bhagavan. Every being in the world yearns to be always happy and free from the taint of sorrow and desires to get rid of bodily ailments, etc., which are not of its true nature. Further, everyone cherishes the greatest love for himself, and this love is not possible in the absence of happiness. In deep sleep, though devoid of everything, one has the experience of being happy. Yet, due to the ignorance of the real nature of one's own being, which is happiness itself, people flounder in the vast ocean of material existence, forsaking the right path that leads to happiness, and act under the mistaken belief that the way to be happy consists in obtaining the pleasures of this and the other world. Unfortunately, however, there is no such happiness which has not the taint of sorrow. It is precisely for the purpose of pointing out the straight path to true happiness that Lord Shiva, taking on the guise of Sri Shankaracharya, wrote the commentaries on the triple canon, Prasthantraya of the Vedanta, which extols the excellence of this bliss, and that he demonstrated it by his own example in life. These commentaries, however, are of little use to those ardent seekers who are intent upon realizing the bliss of liberation but have not the scholarship necessary for studying them. It is for such as these that Sri Shankara revealed the essence of the commentaries in this short treatise, the crown gem of discrimination, Vivekachudamani, explaining in detail the points that have to be grasped by those who seek liberation and thereby directing them to the true and direct path. Sri Shankara begins by observing that it is hard indeed to attain human birth, and that, having attained it, one should strive to achieve the bliss of liberation, which is really only the nature of one's being. By jnana, or spiritual knowledge, alone is this bliss to be realized, and jnana is achieved only through vichara, or study inquiry. In order to learn this method of inquiry, says Sri Shankara, one should seek the grace of a guru, and he then proceeds to describe the qualities of the guru and his disciple and how the latter should approach and serve his master. He further emphasizes that in order to realize the bliss of liberation, one's own individual effort is an essential factor. Mere book learning never yields this bliss. It can be realized only through self-inquiry or vichara, which consists of shravana or devoted attention to the precepts of the Guru, manana or deep contemplation, and nididhyasana or the cultivation of equanimity in the self. The three bodies are non-self and are unreal. The self, that is the ahem or I, is quite different from them. It is due to the ignorance that the sense of self or the I notion is foisted on that which is not self, and this indeed is bondage. Since from ignorance arises bondage, from knowledge ensues liberation. to know this from the Guru is Shravana. The process of manana, which is subtle inquiry or deep contemplation, consists in rejecting the three bodies consisting of the five sheaths: physical, vital, mental, intellectual, and blissful, as not I, and discovering through subtle inquiry of who am I, that which is different from all the three and exists single and universal in the heart as Aham or I. Just as a stalk of grass is delicately drawn out from its sheath, this I is denoted by the word Tvam in the scriptural dictum Tat Tvamasi, that thou art. The word of name and form is but an adjunct of Tat or Brahman, and having no separate reality, is rejected as reality and affirmed as nothing else but Brahman. The instruction of the disciple by the Guru in the Mahavakya Tat Tvamasi, which declares the identity of the Self and the Supreme, is this Upadesha, spiritual guidance. The disciple is then enjoined to remain in the beatific state of Aham Brahman, I, the Absolute. Nevertheless, the old tendencies of the mind sprout up thick and strong and constitute an obstruction. These tendencies are threefold, and ego is their root. The ego flourishes in the externalized and differentiating consciousness caused by the forces of projection due to rajas and veiling due to tamas. To fix the mind firmly in the heart until these forces are destroyed, and to awaken with unswerving, ceaseless vigilance the true and cognate tendency which is characteristic of the Atman and is expressed by sayings Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, and Brahmaivaham, Brahman alone am I, is termed Nididhyasana or Atmanusandhan, that is constancy in the self. This is otherwise called Bhakti, Yoga, and Dhyana. Atmanusandhan has been compared to churning curds in order to make butter, the mind being compared to the churn, the heart to the curds, and the practice of concentration on the self to the process of churning. Just as butter is made by churning the curds and fire by friction, so the natural and changeless state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi is produced by unswerving vigilant concentration on the self, ceaseless like the unbroken flow of oil. This readily and spontaneously yields that direct, immediate, unobstructive and universal perception of Brahman, which is at once knowledge and experience, and which transcends time and space. This perception is self-realization. Achieving it cuts the knot of the heart. The false delusions of ignorance, the vicious and age-long tendencies of the mind which constitute this knot are destroyed. All doubts are dispelled and the bondage of karma is severed. Thus, in this crown gem of discrimination, Sri Shankara has described samadhi or spiritual trance, which is the limitless bliss of liberation, beyond doubt and duality, and at the same time has indicated the means for its attainment. To attain this state of freedom from duality is the real purpose of life, and only he who has done so is a Jivan Mukta, liberated while yet alive, not one who has a mere theoretical understanding of what constitutes Purusharth or the desired end and aim of human endeavor. Thus defining a Jivan Mukta, Sri Shankara declares him to be free from the bonds of threefold karma, Sanchita, Agami and Prarabdha. The disciple attains this state and then relates his personal experience. He who is liberated is indeed free to act as he pleases, and when he leaves the body, he abides in liberation and never returns to this birth, which is death. Sri Shankara thus describes realization, that is liberation, as twofold, Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti, as explained above. Moreover, in this short treatise, written in the form of a dialogue between a guru and his disciple, he has considered many other relevant topics.